Something big is coming for crypto this week, and almost nobody is prepared for it. The kind of week where one number, one speech, one unexpected announcement can send Bitcoin flying or crashing in minutes. Because over the next few days, the entire crypto market will be reacting to a chain of events: inflation numbers, Federal Reserve pressure, ETF flows, whale movements, political drama, and global economic shockwaves. Today, we're breaking down everything that's happening right now, so you can understand exactly what's moving the market and what might happen next. If you're watching this, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a critical week like this. CPI inflation report, the number that terrifies traders. The first and most important event this week is the US CPI inflation report. It's the single number that every trader is waiting for, because anytime CPI comes in higher than expected, the entire market instantly pulls back. Stocks fall, crypto gets hit harder. And right now, expectations are extremely tight. Analysts believe CPI should cool slightly, but the fear is that energy prices and housing might push the number higher. When CPI surprises, Bitcoin reacts violently. We've seen it repeatedly. Whales tend to stay quiet before the report, volume drops, and volatility vanishes until the number hits, and then everything explodes at once. And that's exactly why this week's CPI has traders sweating. They know this number decides whether rate cuts stay on the table or get pushed out again. But inflation isn't the only thing shaking crypto this week. Federal Reserve speeches, markets on edge. Multiple Federal Reserve officials are speaking publicly this week, and every word they say will be dissected. Not because traders love economic speeches, but because Fed members sometimes slip clues about policy direction. Right now, the big question is simple: are rate cuts coming or not? Crypto thrives when borrowing gets cheaper, liquidity flows into risk assets, and Bitcoin becomes the safest risk-on play. But when Fed officials talk tough, hinting they're not ready to ease policy, the market tightens. Investors hesitate, whales get cautious. And this week's speeches matter even more because they come before the CPI number. If Fed members sound nervous, it could signal they're expecting a higher inflation reading. But there's an even bigger catalyst forming, one that has nothing to do with speeches or inflation. Bitcoin ETF flows, the Wall Street battle. Behind the scenes, Bitcoin ETFs are fighting their own war. Some funds are seeing strong inflows this week, while others are bleeding. And that tug-of-war tells us exactly how institutional investors feel. When inflows rise, Bitcoin's price stabilizes. When outflows spike, Bitcoin tends to slip. This week's ETF activity is showing mixed signals. One day, heavy buying, the next day, almost no movement. And that kind of inconsistency usually appears before a major macro event. Institutions are waiting, watching, positioning. And the speculation around new ETFs, especially ETH, SOL, and possibly XRP, adds even more fuel. Any hint of approval or delay can shake the market instantly. But while Wall Street is playing tug-of-war, there's an even darker storm forming. US regulation shock, pressure, and new bills. Washington is heating up again. Two major crypto-related bills are moving through committees, and both of them could reshape parts of the industry. One targets stablecoins, introducing tougher issuance rules. The other focuses on exchange oversight, giving regulators more authority. As usual, the crypto community is split down the middle. Some believe this is bullish because clearer rules attract big money. Others fear tighter restrictions that push innovation abroad. Add in the political pressure building around the SEC and its approach to crypto, and you get a cocktail of uncertainty that markets hate. But the biggest sign of what's coming isn't happening in Congress. It's happening on-chain. Whale movements, something big is brewing. Whenever there's a big economic week ahead, whales make the first move. And right now, whale wallets are showing unusual behavior. Large BTC and ETH transfers are hitting the blockchain. Many of these wallets are sending funds to exchanges, something that often signals selling pressure or hedging ahead of volatility. But here's the twist. Some whales are doing the opposite, pulling massive amounts of BTC off exchanges, which usually points to accumulation. And in the altcoin world, things are even stranger. SOL whales have been unusually active. XRP wallets are moving funds in patterns that analysts describe as pre-event behavior. Even meme coin whales are shifting positions ahead of the CPI number. Movements like these aren't random. Whales don't gamble, they prepare. And if you're watching this right now, hit subscribe so you never miss these signals, because this kind of activity almost always means something is coming. But the final piece of this puzzle is happening outside the US. Global economic shifts, the pressure nobody is talking about. Crypto doesn't move in a vacuum, and this week, global markets are sending mixed signals. China is releasing new guidance on economic stimulus. Whenever they inject liquidity, risk markets, including crypto, react instantly. Europe, meanwhile, is facing new warnings about slowing growth. A slowdown in the EU reduces global demand and can push money into safer assets. Oil prices have been rising again, which means inflation pressure globally, and that feeds directly back into CPI expectations. And the US dollar index, DXY, has been moving sharply this week. When the dollar strengthens, crypto tends to weaken. When the dollar slips, Bitcoin gets room to breathe. Put all of this together, and you have a global environment preparing for a major shift. And it leads to one big question. What all of this means for crypto this week. Crypto is entering one of the most sensitive macro weeks in months. CPI will decide whether inflation is cooling or eating up. The Fed's speeches will set the tone for rate expectations. ETF flows reveal whether institutions are buying or waiting on the sidelines. Regulation is tightening, pushing uncertainty into the market. Whales are positioning themselves for volatility, and global economies are sending conflicting signals. This is the type of week where a single headline can flip the market direction. If CPI comes in cooler than expected, crypto could rally fast. If CPI spikes or the Fed turns hawkish, Bitcoin could retest lower support levels. And if ETF flows turn sharply positive, it could stabilize everything. The next few days won't just tell us where crypto is headed short-term, they'll shape the narrative for the rest of the month. So here's the truth. Crypto is entering a week filled with uncertainty, opportunity, and risk. The combination of inflation data, regulation pressure, whale movements, and ETF flows makes this one of the most unpredictable periods in weeks. The question isn't whether something will happen, it's which direction it breaks, and how fast the market reacts when it does. If you want to stay ahead of every major move, subscribe to Alts Club, because this week might be the one everyone remembers.